Sit thee down, beautiful listeners, and welcome to Men in Sheds, episode 8.
8.
Which is Sans Shed.
Yes, we are out in the, well, I wouldn't say balmy atmosphere of the allotment or the orchard, if you want to be a bit more middle class. But I think it's warmer out here than it is in the shed, weirdly, so...
I've got a very, very, very racist joke to open with.
Oh no.
So it's a bit Pearl Harbor. But we won't say the punchline.
We won't say that.
Pearl Harbor. Because
well, the birds were singing, weren't they? So we just thought, let's sit outside.
And the shed was colder than outside.
The shed was colder than outside.
So we're outside today.
Yeah.
And it's 2017.
First one. Got to make an effort for first one.
Exactly.
So we come outside.
Yeah. And completely going in contrast to that, let's start.
In the past.
With the past.
The past.
And didn't we just have a blast from the past? A blast we didn't even know about.
It were your keen eye that spotted this
Keen
one.
eye.
Keen eye.
So we were out gallivanting, weren't we? In Newcastle under Lyme.
About the tune, but not that kind of tune, because it's Newcastle under Lyme.
Newcastle under pants, as some people call it. And we were walking through, modging through town.
Modging?
Bit of a swag on. Bit of a swagger through town.
Have you got your book of North dialect out there?
And I froze, didn't I?
You did?
Just froze.
I mean, it was a cold night, I'll give you that.
It was very cold. But for other reasons, I froze and pointed into a car dealership.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say which one it was.
No.
But if this is something that interests you, then, you know...
Modge the send to Newcastle under Lyme.
We can tell you where it were. And I spotted what could be best described as a rally-ready Mark III Escort in a car dealership.
Yeah.
Upon closer inspection, it were something called a Gartrack G3. G3, which sounds dead cool, doesn't it?
Dead cool. Don't know what any of it means, but it just sounds cool.
Well, I thought it sounds like a lawnmower mixed with a new phone which can obtain data bandwidth from wireless at a reasonably low speed.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a hodgepodge of the old and the young.
I like it, yeah.
And, to tell you what a Gartrack G3 is, it's a Mark III Escort with Mark II running gear, basically.
That's rather interesting.
So
why the Mark II running gear then?
Well, the Mark II were a rallying legend, weren't it?
Oh, and it were rear-wheel drive, wasn't it?
Yeah, rear-wheel drive.
There we go.
Rallying legend. So what happened was when the Mark III came out and it were front-wheel drive, all these rally fans were like...
What do we do now?
Yeah, they wanted to enter a new vehicle.
Yeah.
But it weren't... So basically, they just got a Mark III Escort and put Mark II running gear. It had the Pinto.
That were clever.
And a drive shaft. They put a big protective cover in for drive shaft.
Yeah, in case it...
Put a back axle on it. Job done.
Job done.
And they looked dead cool, don't they?
It did look proper cool.
Dead cool.
It looked like it were doing 50 mile an hour,
did.
Standing still.
Big wide arches.
Yeah, boxy arches.
Revolution style steel wheels on it. Dead good. I thought we could talk a little bit about why rear wheel drive is important in rallying and how rallying is the opposite end of the spectrum from the physics of Formula One.
Absolutely.
And interestingly enough, a good way of communicating this is with tractor pull.
Go on. Explain this to me. Go on.
Day one of Physics 101, tractor pull.
Tractor pulling.
There are two fundamental opposing views of how to get an effective tractor pull.
Yeah.
You know what a tractor pull is? It's where you get a tractor, you pull something along a dirt track.
I'd have never guessed.
Yeah. Well, you pull a sled, and the sled digs into the ground. The further you go, as the weight moves forward.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all about traction.
Yeah.
And there's two opposing arguments about traction via a wheel.
Yeah.
Okay?
Number one.
Get your textbooks out. Number one.
Note this down. You'll be tested on this at the end of the lesson.
A wheel that spins faster than the current speed of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And thus wheel spins is less efficient at moving a vehicle forward than a wheel which moves
at the same
rate, which doesn't spin.
Right.
which is your old argument for if you're driving a car in the snow,
Yeah. Dunny wheel spin.
you're done the wheel spin, right?
Yeah.
The other argument...
Would this be
and
an opposing argument by any chance?
It's an opposing Southern American argument. Okay.
If in doubt, flat out.
But it's got legs. It's got legs. Okay. The other argument is that if a wheel is throwing enough debris or debris, if that's how you
if you're
say
Southern American, maybe it's debris.
out the back of it,
Yeah. At some point you'll hit bedrock.
every motion has an opposite.
Oh, every action has a reaction.
Yeah, there's a reaction.
Reaction.
Has an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah.
Therefore, as long as it's throwing stuff out the back,
It's got to be.
you should be moving forward, which is like the Dubai theory of
Yeah.
driving on sand.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So, leading on from that,
Yeah.
in rallying,
In rally.
you're going around a corner
Yeah.
and you want to get around that corner as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Now, in Formula One, or any kind of track car, you use downforce, don't you? You use
That's it,
downforce
yeah.
to reduce the amount of wheel slip.
Yeah. Traction.
The second your wheels slip,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
you're in the kitty litter.
Yes.
You're falling off the track.
Yeah.
The theory in rallying is that you create an opposite and equal
Okay. Yeah.
action
Yeah.
to what's trying to throw you off the corner.
Yeah.
And that's why rear-wheel drive's dead important.
It's the most effective way to gravel rash the bobbleheads on the outside of
and
a
there we go, lesson over. The idea is that in the rear-wheel drive in rally
Yeah.
is the car pitches,
Yeah.
so it's able to spin its wheels in the opposite direction
Yes.
to the momentum that wants to push it away from the apex of the corner.
Yes.
And that is why rally cars, when you see them go around corners, are always like going Gymkhana style.
Yeah. Because they're always pointing at where they want to go.
Yeah.
Because of the.
Well, not always where they want to go.
No. Just where they.
Don't want to go.
Where they don't wanna
They're pointing away from where they don't want to
Yeah,
go.
they're pointing away from where they
Yeah.
don't want to go rather than they're pointing where they want to go.
That's
yeah.
basically
Yeah.
our rally car works. You squirt it
Yeah.
in the opposite direction that you actually want. You don't want to end up
Yeah.
theoretically.
Reactive. Quite reactive.
So in rallying, even four-wheel drive
Yeah.
is a problem
Yeah.
because you need to be able to pitch
Yeah.
the vehicle into a corner.
I mean, they seem to have quite rear bias
Oh well,
four-wheel drive systems, don't they? You know?
let me tell
Go on.
you. I mean, like,
Entertain me.
well, in your fixed four-wheel drive,
Yeah.
they had a rear bias, didn't they? Like
Yeah.
Sierra XR4 before, 66% was it to the
Yeah,
rear?
40,
60, but something like that. Basically, drives like a rear-wheel drive
Yeah.
with sort of the grip of the four-wheel drive. That's the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, it went more extreme than that. Back in 80s, you know,
Yeah.
with your rally cars, because what you had was variable
Yeah.
transmission.
Yeah.
Like the RS200, you could go into a corner and throw it into two-wheel drive
Yeah.
and pitch the car round
Yeah.
and then throw it into four-wheel drive to exit.
For traction, for just slingshot
Yeah.
you out.
That's
sort
how
of thing.
that's how
Wow.
serious it got.
Yeah.
And I think seeing the Gar track
Yeah.
were a reminder of all them amazing, like, forgotten. That's why we're talking about them as if it's the past. I mean, Gar track's still going.
Yeah, I think like it's sort of the glory days are gone, aren't they? But as you say, they're still around, and it were a time before manufacturers got on it.
It were. I mean, like, manufacturers, they were interested in, well, I mean, like, some of the major engine manufacturers are into your actual Formula One.
Yeah, yeah,
And they were proving their engine technology and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
yeah,
And some of the luxury brands, they were proving that they could just push the envelope.
yeah,
But rallying were a privateer sport
yeah, very much, yeah,
for a long time. And as a result of that, these really interesting little companies popped up, like Gartrack, like Dimmer,
yeah, innovative stuff going on, wasn't it? Really,
Jan Speed,
yeah,
Turbo Technics,
Yeah.
companies like that.
yeah,
And they were just serving these privateer rally drivers.
Yeah.
A lot of them who owned like car dealerships and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And they were pushing the technology loads before, you know, your Audi Quattro got involved.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And in some cases, they developed cars which later went on to become the like motorsport division.
Oh yeah, kind
Or-
of got subsumed into motorsport.
Yeah, got
there,
blended
yeah.
in. And the most sort of well-known and notorious was the Cosworth
Yeah.
Sierra, because that were that basically some like loads of people were all trying to do the same thing back then. So Yan Speed were turbo in them. Turbo Technics were doing it as well, and then you've got developments like the 1700T, which was that was a Mark III Escort again.
All right.
4-wheel drive, and they were all basically taking the Ford engines at the time, like the YA and the BDA and stuff like that, and turbocharging them. And in the case of the legendary Cosworth, that was a twin cam head development that Motorsports Division that they were forming spotted at the Cosworth plant. Said, what you doing?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, I'm making a twin cam.
Have a butcher's at this.
Yeah, make a twin cam version at Pinto, basically. And they were like, ooh,
I'll have a bit of that.
Have some of that, you know, because that's like Cosworth. They were a head developer. That's what they had created.
They're still quite famous for that, aren't they? Really?
I think they patented a way of reusing material when porting heads in sort of trying to mass produce.
Wasn't that Coscast thing?
Coscast.
I don't know where that came from, but when you said that, I was like, hold on a minute, dredge that out from the brain.
That's the Vauxhall thing, isn't it? Because the Vauxhall 16 valve that were a Cosworth developed head.
Yeah.
The Mercedes 190.
Yeah, Cosworth.
They had a good Cosworth badge on that.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. And these companies, they made some amazing cars.
Yeah.
And we had a little butchers, didn't we, on internet?
Oh, yeah. What if the argument is obviously if there's a G3, there were two that came before it.
Yeah.
And did anything come after it?
Well. I mean, you can Google. I suggest putting down some form of waterproof matting below your computer seat before Googling Gartrack G6.
Yeah, it's the first suggestion. I hadn't even finished writing Gartrack and it had told me, check out G6, lad, check it out.
Because what happened, basically, is that these rally companies, these race companies, these people that were converting cars for privateer motorsport use, started making road cars, started making conversion kits and things like that. And Gartrack did a Mark III Escort, which was a great looking car.
Oh, wow.
Sharp edges, which looks the bananas with slightly wider arches.
Yeah, a bit of boxy arch going on.
And then all kinds of configurations, I think, of rear-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And they even had the old crappy V6 from the XR4i in there.
Good sounding though.
I loved mine. And by today's standards, they're only like 150 horsepower and whatever. But can you imagine?
Yeah.
In like
in that tiny little Mark III Escort body as well.
Would it be like 84, something like that?
Must have been, yeah.
And you see a V6 2.8 rear-wheel drive Mark III Escort. It would be dead good, that would.
You'd only ever see it sideways, I'd hope.
I bloody well hope so. And they look mint now, especially in that red, that orangey red that the RS 1600i came in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I was saying to you, if you just look at the sort of grille and headlights of it, if that's what you see in your rear view mirror,
you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. It's really quite sort of plain Jane in a way.
Yeah.
And then it's only when you notice that slight bulge out on front arches, and then if you've got the vantage point, you see the box arches at the back. And then probably the fact that it's come at you completely sideways and is already making its way around you sideways. It was great. I loved it. I thought it was a proper cool looking car.
And that led us on to, reminiscing about the dimmer.
Yeah.
205.
Yeah.
And 309.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot they did the 309.
Well, a lad had one up in what's it called? Near Cheadle.
Narrow it down a bit.
Dimming's not. No. I don't know what it's called. No, Dillhorn. Near Dillhorn. A lad had one. 309.
Because they were the connoisseur's choice out of between 205 and 309. When it came to GTI, it was like, well, 205 is good, but it'll try and kill you. But the extra wheelbase of the 309, that was a killer feature of that. So I imagine for dimmer, same thing, isn't it? Really.
Well, I mean, they did 4-wheel drive.
Ooh.
They had massive wide arch. I mean, Dimmer went for it.
Yeah,
with the arches.
they liked their style, didn't they? Yeah.
And the back end would lift up. You got electric. You press a switch, and the back of the car would lift up. So you had like an off-road mode for.
Oh, I like that.
Proper.
You just don't get that kind of madness these days, really. Like sort of functional madness, really. You know, it's a function, but it's also the form that followed it. We're mad. Like that kind of.
It's like proper sort of 80s Power Ranger, not 90s Power Ranger, 90s, but it's like that. I don't know, like kit type, like you don't think real cars do things like lift up at the back for going off road, but
they did that. They did in the 80s. They did in the 80s.
And you know, they did all sorts back then, and Jan Speed and Turbo Technics, they were doing all these turbo conversions that you could buy, and you could get you go to dealer, go like your Ford dealer, or I think Vauxhall dealers did some stuff with this, or your Peugeot dealer maybe, and you could get like turbo conversion out from the dealer.
All right. In the same way that you can get like a rather boring extra 20 horsepower from your Mountune chip in your Ford dealership. Well, that's a bit watered down compared to the 80s when they're like, we'll sell you a turbo.
Can you imagine you go to buy like, I don't know, an XR2i, and they're like, oh, I'll have the Jan Speed turbo conversion as well. And the car goes off to Jan Speed or Motorcraft or someone like that. I think Motorcraft did a lot of them, and just got a conversion. And then sometimes that would be like suspension changed and unique seats and stuff like that. And then you're like, it would be bloody amazing.
Yeah, because you have to remember that in the 80s, turboing were future, wasn't it? It were far futuristic. I mean, like, you know, I'm not taking, well, I am maybe taking a little bit of mick out of your Mountune where you just go in and get chipped. But I mean, modern equivalent would be like you go in with your Focus ST or your Focus RS, and it'd be like, I'd like not the Focus RS, but let's say a Fiesta ST, and you'd say, I'd like the hybrid 4-wheel drive version, please. Yeah. And it would go off somewhere, have another motor fitted to front axle, and like you say, come back with box arches, new suspension, and a hybrid, and, you know, double the horsepower or whatever. You know, it's that kind of.
We don't really do it over here.
No, that's what I mean,
the Americans still do.
Yeah.
It's died off a little because again, it's been homogenised into the main brands. But you know, you can buy, for instance, a Super Snake.
Yes.
Mustang Super Snake. Top Gear, because Top Gear talks a right load of old tosh.
Yeah.
Went out and said, you know, that the because it's GT500, I think they call it, don't they? And they were saying it's the most powerful car you can buy and all this. You know, and then there's the Hellcat, you know, the Challenger Hellcat.
And the Charger Hellcat,
They're 700 horsepower, but the previous generation Mustang, you could go to a dealer and you could have, I'll have the Super Snake.
Yeah.
Super Snake were like 1,000 horse.
Yeah, it were sort of 75% more power than that chassis was ever going to handle, maybe,
Yeah, and that was basically just go off to Shelby that way.
Yeah. Yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah, that's true.
And then you got Hennessy as well. Obviously, he's the popular one over there.
Doing the turboing, yeah.
So they're still doing it.
Yeah.
But we don't do it, and
that's a shame. When you look at a Gartrack G3 sitting in the showroom, I have to say that's a shame that we don't do that kind of thing, because that we're just cool.
Yeah, and it's because these companies are kind of died off. I mean, like, one that does remind me of is the Minka.
Oh, the Minka.
The Minka. So, Minka 323.
Yeah.
So,
this is like a dim memory of that when you say, you're going to have to explain it for listeners and for me.
It should be kept a dim memory, the Minka should. So, back in the day, like I say, you could go to your Ford dealer and you could get like, I think they might have done Jan Speed, but they definitely did Turbo Technics.
Yeah.
Which I think is such an A-80s name.
Yeah.
And Turbo Technics did turbo conversions for all sorts of cars. They did a single turbo conversion on the XR4 before, which kind of made it a bit of a weapon.
Yeah.
Back in the day when it came out.
One that you had first-hand experience of.
I've had one.
It were ace.
It was dead good.
It were dead good.
The XR4 before were a dead good car.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like Ford coming along and saying, right, we're going to make a rally car, because Audi had done it, we're going to have a go.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did a cracking job.
Yeah.
With the help of Massey Ferguson. And yeah, you could get this Turbo Technics conversion, gave it like 30% more horsepower, another 50 horsepower, and that was a single turbo. When the 2.9 came out, which were the EFI version with the Mark II shell, the proper sort of jelly mould, you could get a twin turbo conversion on those. Smaller turbos.
Yeah, but...
And they were about 200...
double the turbos.
Yeah, they were like 250, 280 brake. And
which again, when we're talking about the time period, the 280 brake, that's astronomical sort of figures, isn't it, really, for that era?
Well, I mean, cars like that were legends back then. It was like, the police had them and people like that for pursuit cars and stuff, and they were just sort of spoken about as if, well,
in hushed tones.
Warwickshire police, they've got XR4 before.
Don't mess around in Warwickshire, they'll have you.
Yeah. And that kind of led eventually to Turbo Technics offering through Ford this thing called a Minker.
A Minker.
And a Minker were like, it just could not have got more early 90s. And it were a twin turbo.
Yeah.
XR4 before with the engine rebuilt, so it gave out 323 horsepower. I think it was a 323.
Oh right, yeah. Hence the
And they redid the bodywork styling, but this awful wing on the back. And I don't mean like a big, tall, wide wing. I mean a wing that kind of started like at the back door.
Started at the B pillar.
It did, yeah, and it went like in a straight line. Out the back, it's definitely a Power Rangers vibe to it. It were nasty, and they put the it had a round light conversion.
Yeah.
Because they were popular at the time, and they looked bloody awful.
Because they did a lot of round lights.
Yeah, Dimmer did that.
Yeah.
You just put high powered round headlights where your old ones went, like, the better.
Put a bit of fiberglass round them.
Yeah, and they were an ugly car, but you know, I think
maybe
pay them respect.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the interesting bit, isn't it? Really, it's where the limits were for those companies, like you say, engineering-wise and mechanical-wise. Like the Minker, were that side of it were amazing. But when you maybe started getting into that kind of modification of the body itself and wings and all that, you know, like blistered or box arches is one thing, but like I say, maybe. Sounds harsh to say maybe they should have stuck to the engineering side, but maybe that's what ultimately happens, isn't it? You know, you get a bit of name for yourself for doing turbo conversions, and more people come to you, and you have to do bigger and better conversions, and then your business is booming, and it's like, where do we go next? Well, let's kind of unofficially make our own car by body kitting.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't, like you say, maybe it's not the most successful looking vehicle and, you know, design when you're finished with it, but I guess that's where it went, in it, by early 90s. It was the power of those companies had got to the point where they were actually, you know, physically modifying the shells and trying to make their own sort of.
And they had their own look.
Yeah.
They had their own look that they were bringing to the table. I mean, like, they had I guess they employed a stylist and they did their best. And I have to say, I mean, dimmers are a bit much for me.
Yeah.
And that whole wide arch thing from Europe got a bit too far. Like, it was proper sort of Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Gartrack G6.
Yeah.
But I was going to go on to, you've got a theory, haven't you, about motorsport and the way it segues into road cars, and perhaps answers why we had such brilliant manufacturer cars in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I mean, if you look at 80s and 90s, that's the okay, Formula One were important and it were a big deal, but I think it were equalled, and maybe in Group B you could say it were outclassed by Rally, really. I mean, it were just incredible what they were doing, and yeah, my sort of theory is really that, or my thinking is that really we should concentrate more. You know, Rally's disappeared a bit now, and the focus is on Formula One, and I don't think that's necessarily doing road cars any favours.
No.
I mean, if you look at like they're few and far between these days, but even the most recent Subarus, you know, the Imprezas, or not Imprezas, I think they are now. They're just sort of STIs, Subaru STI, and that's it. There's a lightness about them when they move down the road, and you can see the suspension working, and it's all about rally breeding, you know. You can see, and like I say, when you watch even modern rally, I know they're kind of, you know, very far removed. They're not like homologated like they used to be, sort of based on road cars, but you see the handling and the suppleness of the suspension, and I think that's maybe why we had such good road cars in that era, because it were rallying technology that were going into road cars while we all stared at the incredible futuristic Formula One. Whereas now people want to take stuff out of Formula One, like the hybrid stuff, and put it into road cars. And I think that's wrong, you know. Like you say, Formula One cars are downforce based. They run on glass smooth tarmac.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't make any sense. I just wish there were more cars that took their cues from that suppleness and that sort of, like we've always said, sort of A to B pace of rally, isn't it? I mean, it's incredible when you see that pace through a terrain, and ever-changing terrain, different corners, different altitudes, different, you know, surfaces, the lot, and that lends itself a lot more to our crappy potholed roads today than a glassy track somewhere in the United Arab Emirates. You know, that's my theory anyway.
I totally agree with it, and I agree with it from practice.
Yeah.
When I got into modifying cars, it were during, you know, we'd kind of, the rallying thing had happened.
Yeah.
And the focus were on touring cars.
Yeah.
Touring cars were becoming massive then. And, you know, what people were doing to mimic touring cars, and the whole philosophy was massive diameter wheels, low profile tyres, drop the car down.
Super stiff suspension sort of
Super
thing.
stiff suspension, exactly. And I did that, you know. I had a Cavalier SRI, and I dropped that like 80 mil.
Blimey.
And it were on 16s, not 17s. Because back in the day, having 17-inch wheels were a real push.
Yeah.
And the style I wanted, which was the AZA style of wheel, lovely wheel, were only available in a 16 if you got the cheap Sigma knockoffs. But I did all that with me Cavalier, and I put all the bushes on it. It didn't handle.
It's uncomfortable, isn't it?
It bounced around. It tried to leap off the road all the time.
Yeah.
It was constantly effectively losing traction in corners because the wheel contact wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it was too stiff.
It was too stiff, and it would wheel spin because all the camber were off and everything else. It was a mess. The XR4 before I left that all to a tuner.
Yeah.
When I had that, I took it to an amazing place called Turbo Systems.
Yeah.
Used to go there all the time. Tony Manick, absolute legend. Absolute legend. With his bum bag. And he did the magic. He suggested it were Coney shocks and Vergotland springs, and it were, you know, it felt like a soft setup. It didn't feel any worse than the standard setup in terms of comfort. Yeah. But, oh my God.
Point to point. I remember the first time we scooted off up at Boundary, scooted turn left into some type B roads, and I couldn't believe, like you say, the pace.
Boundary. That's where that
Boundary, there you go.
I'm trying to remember the lad's name. I want to sort of pay him respect for such an excellent choice.
Yeah. But yeah, I just remember, like you say, it flowed. And that's the word. It's flowed. Brownie. Brownie's 309.
Or Brown. I don't call him Brown or Brownie. Legend he was.
Legend.
He had I was just saying, he had a cracking dimmer 309.
There you go.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just saying, it flows the word. Rally cars flow.
They do, don't they?
And your XR4 before flowed.
It's like a rally car. It's like a Baja. The body follows a trajectory, but the wheels are always moving around to try and find the road. It's really interesting.
Well, it gets too extreme, doesn't it? And it's almost like the body stays still and the entire environment moves around it.
Yeah.
It's, like you say, the wheels, the terrain is moving, and this serene body on top of it, just soaking it all up. It's phenomenal, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And I agree with you that if you want to bring a philosophy to cars which can handle remarkably well on B roads and tighter A roads, then you do need to be looking at rally.
That's it.
Because a lot of times they're wet. The surface isn't good, and if you're around here and cracky, you know, they are
one step away from gravel roads anyway.
Yeah.
So that's that. I think there we go then. That we have reminisced.
Yeah, I think that were a nice thing to reminisce on.
Yeah, and we have argued that if you want to look to a motorsport to help road vehicles, it's rally, not Formula One.
And you know, let's pour a 40 for those amazing 80s and 90s. Oh, they were born out in the 70s.
Yeah.
Tuning companies that are still around, like Gartrack and
Yeah.
what they brought
Yeah,
to
fair play
cars.
to them that they're still around.
If it weren't for them, the manufacturers would never have taken notice.
Exactly. When you say pour 40, I'm not actually going to pour me tea on the ground, am I?
Bloody hell. You get that down your throat, lad. In fact, let's have
Let's have
a little tea break.
a tea break right now.
Right then,
Right then.
the present.
The present.
We're going to do a bit of a
Hodgepodge.
a bit of a hodgepodge newsy thing.
Yeah.
We're trying out new things, got new ideas and all that.
Well, it's first one of the year, isn't it? So really,
Yeah.
news. We should recap and we should set the stall out with a bit of news.
We are trying to do some regular stuff. Anyway, bit
So
of
if you never
news.
see this again, this
Yeah.
wasn't one of the regular things.
VED changes
VED.
this year. VED.
Road tax, as people like to
Crappy
call
old
it, but it
VED.
is VED, Vehicle Excise Duty.
Yeah, that's the one. There's some changes this year. Most notable. Well, actually, basically they're going after electric cars, aren't they? They're going after zero-emission cars now.
Right, they've sort of realised that all of these years of giving electric cars and very low emissions cars a tax haven,
Yeah.
and they've now realised there's a nice bulk of those that
Yeah,
they can then tax the crap out of.
Yeah, that's
that
how it
sounds
is.
very familiar. You remember when diesel used to be cheaper than unleaded by quite a bit?
Yeah.
So everyone went, let's buy diesel,
Yeah.
that'd be a good idea.
Well, the government said,
yeah,
go buy
do
diesel.
it. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
We never trust them with LPG, did we? We never trusted them with
that's true.
LPG.
Once bitten, twice
Yeah,
shy.
right, no, not going for that. Don't believe you. But
Go
there's
on,
also
anyway, yeah, so what are they doing?
posh car tax.
Posh car tax.
There's a posh car tax. Yeah, this is a bit crappy, really.
So is this just over a certain value, or?
Yeah,
Wow.
if you,
That's a bit brazen, isn't it?
yeah, no. If the car retails for over £40,000,
Blimey.
you pay a £310 charge on that for 5 years.
That's what you. Hang on, you
bit
bought
off.
Yeah, you
Bit off, innit?
bought a posh car, slap some tax on that. Blimey. And 40 grand. I mean, I'm not saying I can afford a 40 grand car, but isn't like a Golf R is like 30 grand. I mean, you're not talking about sort of
Well, I'm
Rolls
calling,
Royce Dawn, are you?
I'm calling it posh car tax.
Yeah.
I'm not sure everyone else would, but it's a big chunk of cash. But
That is.
I'm not happy with this.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you wanna raise revenue,
Yeah.
I'm all for going after the 10% and the 1%,
Yeah.
and making them pay their way for
Absolutely.
support their society.
Yeah.
Go after £80,000
Yeah,
cars
exactly.
and charge them a bloody fortune
Yeah.
because they're not going to notice it.
No, exactly. If you're dropping 100 grand
Yeah.
on a car,
They're not going to give a
slap
shit.
another 5 grand on that.
Yeah, don't go after people who spent 40,000
Yeah,
and then
that is
say,
low,
right,
that is
and
cruel.
then give them like 1,500 quid
Yeah,
bloody penalty for it.
yeah.
Fuck right off.
Fuck right off.
Fuck right off.
Sorry, listeners.
And
We're getting a bit.
And I probably never will
Bit
buy a
agitated
£40,000
now.
car,
No,
but
it's
that's just
same
not
here.
on. Continuing rage a little bit,
Yeah.
the BBC have reported that parking spaces are too small.
Too small.
And it's about time.
Yeah.
It's about time this has been picked up. Accidents are up by 35%
Is
since
that like parking
2014.
accidents? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's like coming back to find your car's been scuffed or bumped or,
Well, I had one of these incidents only the other week, parking at, of all places, Waitrose, where you would think, people are polite and middle class, and no. And I got back to my car to find someone had dumped a Freelander at a 45-degree angle, almost into the side of the chimney. I almost had to get in through the passenger side just to get out, and I was of a mind, if I didn't like my car so much, and I wasn't. So I wanted to preserve it as long as possible. I would have door-wanged it into that Freelander had I been in a shed.
Yeah, you don't want to do that next to my Jeep.
No.
And to be honest, people don't. That's the frustrating thing.
Yeah.
I used to...
I wish there were more backlash. I wish there were more backlash to bad drive. Like,
I think there is. I've been guilty of...
that sounds a bit vindictive, that is.
It didn't. Let's not start a riot. I've been in the unfortunate situation of bumping someone's car while I was trying to parallel park my Jeep.
Oh dear.
And the tragic thing about the Jeep is, because of its bumper height, if you do touch another car, it's not bumper to bumper. And I scuffed a lovely, very well kept Fiesta, like Mark 5 or something like that, Mark 4. It was probably some old guys. He probably had it since new, and I could not find this dude. I could not. I tried. I went into buildings asking about it. I felt terrible. And he never got in contact, and I was never able to do something about that, and it's very unfortunate.
But I think that's, you know, you got. I think, like, if I came back to my car and found a scuff on it, I'd like to think I gave it benefit of the doubt. If they weren't around, you would think, well, maybe, like you say, you know, shit happens really. But I think it's more when you come back to an in progress piss take like that, sort of, you know, where somebody's just parked so close or so badly. I mean, I've seen the worst one that I see quite a lot is when people pull into a parking space front on, and the angle is such that the person next to them, they can't physically, you know, the back of the car is hanging over the space so much that you just think that poor person who's going to come back to their car next to it physically can't get out of the space.
I had that.
And you just think
with a van,
isn't it, really?
A van had parked behind me and a car parked next to me, and I had to do like a 40-point turn
just to get out, sort of thing.
There was no room. But they are too small.
I think they are.
It's not because they're making them too small. It's because the standard car parking space, of which there is none, in all fairness. But if you go in an old car park, they put them spaces in. For old cars, which were dead small compared to modern cars.
For a little Mini or a...
Modern cars are massive.
Even to touch on Sierras, we'd look at a Sierra now. That's not a big car, you know.
It was bloody huge back in the day. And what frustrates me is, of course, you know, the aggro has been directed towards SUVs. That's what they've gone after. And they've kind of highlighted things like the full-size Range Rover. It is a massive car.
I don't think it can fit in a...
It can't.
I saw a Porsche Panamera that physically couldn't fit in the length anyway.
No, they can't. Space. They are too long, and they're going after them. But that's not the real problem, because 4x4s, they're not as big as they look. A Jeep Cherokee, the old one, is
the XJ
footprint of a Focus.
It's the height.
The Grand Cherokee, the 2001 My Age, it's the footprint of a Mondeo. They're not that massive. What's actually happened is cars in general have just got really big. They're getting fatter like we're getting fatter.
Speak for yourself.
And that's where the problem's stemming from. And I don't know. I mean, mate, I was wondering, is there a brand of car park? Because you get like these different car park owners, don't you? And the national NCP,
that kind of thing. And
I was wondering, like, is there one that people go to because the spaces are bigger? Like, if you've got like
SUV parking spaces, like you pay a bit extra for, but they're like a third bigger.
Because I have to say, the Jeep isn't massive, but like it's sizable. Like a Mondeo is sizable. And sometimes, like, you trying to get into a car park, and
tight.
Like it's getting out. You can park, you can't get out.
You're climbing out through the boot.
And it's a recipe for disaster. Kids, things like that, are going to open doors into other cars. And I've had a concourse car. And I used to do all sorts. I was one of those people who, you know, in a multi-story car park, I would buy 2 tickets. And I was you can't do that now, a lot of them, because you have to get a token.
Oh, of course,
I'd get 2 tickets, pay for 2 tickets, and park it between 2 spaces.
Which weirdly still irritates people, and I sort of get it in.
I get
it in a way that's like it's one car in 2 spaces, but ultimately you have paid for 2 at least.
And you'd put both in the windows so people could see, and you'd park out the way. And, you know, you wouldn't do it if it were busy. That would be a bit sociopathic. And I'd do the whole thing like you go somewhere, you park your car completely down the other end of the car park where there's no one else, and then
you come out.
You come out and there's a bloody
battered old Peugeot parked next to
in a bloody LDV van with a homemade
LDV
conversion.
Sherpa,
and he's like trying to park it between your car and some bins and a curb. And you're just like, where do you people pop up from? You know. No offence to saying parkies pop up from where I've got nothing against them, you know, speaking as a gorger. But that's what it felt like. You know, it would be like a skip wagon or
Yeah.
something, or someone with a bloody double axle caravan.
Yeah.
And it just drove you. I won't say his name, but I know a guy. He just had his car resprayed. He put a cover on it at night.
Wow.
That's serious.
Wow, that's
Got
serious.
upset about cats sitting on it and all sorts. He took his girlfriend out to the cinema, came home, and there was a car park right next to his car, middle of nowhere, the car park.
Yeah.
And of course, he got down,
Yeah.
inspected his door, and there it was. There it was. That little,
The scuff.
the little dent in his door
The
from
dint.
where this other person's door. And he turned round and he kicked this person's car door square in the middle.
Oh, wow.
He was that angry.
Wow.
He was that. He didn't like people getting in his personal
No,
space.
obviously.
Either. You were all right.
Obviously.
You were a good lad.
Crikey.
Yeah, it was a shame. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that.
No. We don't condone that kind of behaviour.
Don't react like that.
Yeah.
So, this is weird. Sexy car.
Sexy car.
Damn sexy car. And
Is
it's
that
a
your
Kia.
Is that your note? Is that it?
It's a Kia.
Kia?
The Kia
Stinger.
Stinger. What's going on?
I know. Well, I think, I don't know how you feel about this, but it feels to me like Korea is doing a Japan of the 90s, isn't
Yeah,
it, really?
I think you're right there.
I think it's just all over again. Slightly complacent motor industry, even Japan, although it's got its quirks and its craziness. And yeah, Kia and Hyundai, or Hyundai, as they should rightly be called, have come along and gone, let's mess this party up a bit.
Good on 'em.
And they have done with the Stinger V6, twin turbo V6, isn't it?
350 horsepower, rear wheel drive.
Rear wheel drive.
What's going on? Korea, what's going on? They've got to do a good electric version of this.
Yeah. Well, surely if it's rear wheel drive, they're going to wang some hybridisation in
Gotta
front
do.
axle
That's
and
what
we'll be
they've gotta
aware,
do.
won't we?
They've
Yeah.
got to do that.
Yeah.
They've got to do that.
So fair play to Kia for that one.
Google it.
Yeah, Google
Check that
Stinger.
out.
It does have a bit of shades of Audi about it in some lights.
Oh, don't ruin it.
But to be fair, you could argue that, again, Japan in the 90s, they were sort of riffing off cars that were already in existence in Western world and making them a billion times better. Because Japan, woo! Anyway, next one.
Oh, you have to get it in
Next news
somewhere.
item.
Have to get it in there. New segment.
New segment.
Car Fannery Corner. We've been wanting to do this for ages.
We need a proper jingle for
Car
this. Maybe that's one of the
Fannery
new.
Corner.
Maybe that's one of the new things we could do this year. We can have jingles.
So yeah.
Fannery Corner.
So
Hit me with your fannery.
Fannery Corner. Fannery right to your face.
Fannery in your face.
It's shit that car fans come out with. I mean, bloody hell. Bloody hell.
Bloody hell! Right.
I mean,
Give me an example.
let's not even mention the website that shall not be mentioned.
Oh yeah.
But
Although we may mention them shortly.
I
in the other news.
subscribe to like various news sources for
Yeah.
cars, and you get the comment section, and oh my god, oh
Here
my-
be dragons.
and there's one that's been winding me up,
Yeah.
winding me
Be
up
right up.
proper, and it's all about the Aston Martin Vulcan,
Yeah.
which is a weird car to defend.
Yeah.
Because it's no underdog, is it?
It's batshit insane, is what it is.
It is batshit insane. So what's happened is Aston Martin, whilst not developing the rest of their product line
Yeah.
for what seems like an insane amount of time,
Put a bit of time and a bit of effort.
it turns out what they thought, what everyone needed, was basically a manufactured GT car.
Yeah.
So the Vulcan, you want to do your little Google searches
Yeah.
right now, is like the Batmobile that you can actually buy.
Yeah.
It looks radical. It looks radical.
It looks crazy.
And reading through comments from car fans about this car, it's proper winding me up. Okay, it's not a road car.
Yeah.
It is not a road car.
It's for tracking.
Yes, it can be made road legal.
Yeah. At a
Subject to your country.
Yeah.
And what that entails.
And your bank balance.
Yes, Aston Martin have got at least one road legal one in the UK.
Which,
Because we know someone who's
we
been
know
driving
someone.
around in
Yeah.
one.
So it is from first hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard it here
How's that?
first. Dispelling the myths.
So these people on internet who come on and go, it's impractical, can I convert it for the road? It is not designed for road. It's not designed for road. It's not designed for the road. It's going back to our whole conversation about rally cars and Formula One cars and
Yeah.
their suitability for
Yeah.
the road. And a GT car
Yeah.
is in no way suitable for the road.
Yeah.
And here's why. Okay. It is designed for incredibly rich people
Yeah.
to take to the track as
Take
a
to
toy.
Abu Dhabi.
As a toy. It's just a
Yeah.
take. It's
And
absolute
have a laugh
track
in.
toy that you can just go out and buy from Aston Martin,
Yeah.
and you can gloat to all your friends that you've
Yeah.
got one from Aston Martin, and it is designed for tracks. And when you design a GT car, when you make a GT car, it is so far removed from a road car
Yeah.
in terms of its aerodynamics,
Yeah.
in terms of its
Lack of interior.
suspension movement and things like that.
Yeah.
And what really winds me up more than anything is when I read comments saying they've made such a bad job of the aerodynamics, they've had to put a massive wing on the back. Okay.
Right.
Which is the same as saying, oh, look at the new McLaren F1 car, they've done such a bad job, they've had to put a massive wing on the
Yeah.
back. Because the fact is, if you know anything about GT cars and high-speed tracks,
Yeah.
is there is no better way to
Yeah.
make a car stick to a track
Rear stability
than a-
through a
a
gopping great wing on the back.
massive big wing on the back. And what winds me up about it more than anything
Yeah.
is that comment combined with this complete ignorance that the underside of the Vulcan is an absolute magnificent
Yeah.
work of art.
Venturis and
There's
wind
nothing else you can buy
thingamabobs and
From a
diffusers
mainstream manufacturer
Yeah.
such as Aston
Yeah.
Martin that has this kind of construction to it,
Yeah.
that means that you can go to an incredibly high speed track,
Yeah.
and drive it
a
as
Formula One track,
incredibly,
pretty much,
yeah,
like they do, like I say, Abu Dhabi is one.
and
isn't it?
drive it incredibly high speeds and
Yeah.
still pull amazing G's in the corners. It
Yeah.
will stick like glue.
Yeah.
And yes, it needs a massive wing on the back because there's no other way
Yeah.
around it. Okay, McLaren.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled by. I've not come across this.
It's
and I
because the
am
problem is
baffled.
what people do is you look at like the McLaren F1 and cars like that,
Yeah.
and they don't have these massive wings on.
But
the
didn't the
back.
original McLaren F1 have vacuums to suck it to the
Well,
road?
well, yeah, I mean that's it. But
Like, so you've got to have something,
well,
and the most efficient
you haven't
way,
for the road, have you? Because
Well,
you're
no,
never going to
no,
be
that's
doing
true.
those kind of speeds.
That's true.
On-
The McLaren F1 GTR had a massive wing on
yeah,
the back.
that's it.
Yeah.
As soon as it becomes a track car,
Yeah.
they stick a wing on.
Yeah,
That's
because the vacuums aren't good enough.
They're primitive, they're tacky, they are something that rice
they're
and stick on the back of the
functional.
cars, but they are absolutely the best way of doing it at the moment. Just
Yeah.
the same as the best things to stick on each corner are wheels.
Yeah.
Because we haven't come up. We can do maglev, but
We haven't got
we're not-
frictionless sleds
we're
yet
not
for the
there
back.
yet. So that's why it's got a wing on the back, because it's designed to do like 150 mile an hour around corners,
Yeah.
where your usual road car would just basically, you would turn the wheel and nothing would
Yeah,
happen.
nothing would happen, exactly.
You would become a passenger
Yeah.
with a steering wheel in your hand.
In a very big accident.
So that's my Car Fannery rant about that
Well,
one.
I'm also baffled just because, quite frankly, the Vulcan is just cool as. And to have
Yeah.
some sort of problem with it
I know.
suggests there's something wrong with you in a way.
And to suggest that the development division of Aston Martin,
Yeah.
which is so heavily funded with its own studios
Yeah.
beside the factory,
Yeah.
to just dream of this and come up with this kind of stuff, to suggest that they...
They shouldn't be dreaming. They shouldn't be doing, fancy, clever
Well,
stuff.
just that they can't do it.
Yeah.
That they just go, oh, we've got to put a wing on this because we made such a bad job. Oh, we've made this
That's
GT
true,
car and it's completely impractical as a road car.
Yeah.
This car, which we do not sell for road use. And yeah, you could go to Aston, and you could, if you offer up enough money,
Yeah.
they will let you drive. They will get it bloody via, was it Vossa 5,
Yeah.
and get it through for you as a bloody
Well,
kit car or whatever.
Back in one of those, is it 80s or 90s Porsches that were riding in Le Mans, the 9-something, it'll be a 9-something obviously because Porsche, it's like the 9.6 something. There's one of them that's road legal in Japan,
Right.
and it's got the full livery. But don't for a second think it's comfortable and good to drive. It might be a.
It's not going to get over speed bumps.
No,
is it?
exactly.
Because you have to decide between whether or not a car's going to go over speed bumps,
Yeah.
or whether or not it's going to be
Yeah. Whether it's gonna
lightweight
go over
and
curbs.
simple and effective on a track.
Yeah, exactly.
Proper wound me up, that one has. Anyway, I'm glad I
Bloody
got that out.
Fannery.
Car Fannery Corner. Moving on.
Moving on.
This is
It's going to be a long one, this is.
No, we're all right with this
We're
last
all right.
one.
Go on.
Last one.
Go on.
Power Wheels,
Yeah.
who make those little electric cars for kids.
Yeah.
Then
Don't they hop up, but like people hop up with
that people hop
drill motors and
Yeah,
that kind of random.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Then I think it's the C6 Corvette.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Sounds about right.
Sounds
Or
about
C7,
right.
I think we might be
C7.
on now. Just call it the 2019 Corvette, because there are
No,
always like a
it's
couple
not the
of
Corvette. It's a Mustang.
Mustang. The 2019 Mustang, because we're always a couple of years
A
advanced.
child can now buy
Yeah.
a Power Wheels Mustang with traction control and stability control.
It's only one step away from line lock for burnouts, isn't it, really? Let's be honest.
With wheelie bars on the
Yeah,
back.
exactly. That is cool. That's just cool.
That is cool, and it's because it's electric
Yeah.
that you can get away with
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's dead easy to make an
That's
electric
it.
car
Software based, isn't it? You
that's
just
got traction control because you haven't got to command an engine
to
do
do
different
crazy
things. So I think that is pretty cool.
That is clever.
When I was 6,
Yeah.
I had a motorbike.
Did you?
I did, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, little
Did that have traction
50cc.
control and ABS?
Didn't have anything like that. And when you'd go riding it on like a track where proper motorbikes would be,
Yeah.
you'd come down a hill dead fast,
Yeah.
and you'd hit the bottom, and you'd go through a rut that another motorbike could carve,
Yeah.
and your foot pegs would wedge into it, and you'd go right over the front of it. Helmet first. Oh, up. Whoa.
Whoa!
Steady on.
That was painful.
Steady on. That's
the news.
That's the news. Covered it nicely, haven't we?
I think that was spot on. That let's have another brew and getting
Go on,
cold.
then. We are getting
We'll
cold.
talk about.
Why are we outside?
I don't because it's
the
co-
23rd
because
of
it's warmer.
January. We're outside.
Look, I've told you, I'm buying a wood stove for the wooden shed.
Oh, that warms me up a treat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right, let's have a brew.
Hello again.
Right,
Right, we're into the future now.
into the final countdown.
And it's a talking point
Yeah.
that you've come up with, isn't it, Andrew? You've come up with this one, and it's dead
It's like
good.
me back at school.
It's dead
Now,
good.
come on, Andrew,
Are
tell
you
us,
gonna tell the
us
whole
what you
class?
did, what you did at the weekend.
Take your hands out of your trousers, and you tell us.
Right, well, I've come up with this theory. Well, no, not a theory.
It's a theory, like physics theory.
Yeah, like
You're going to submit it to a major publication.
Peer review.
Peer reviewed, yeah.
So, right, me talking point is about cars as icons and the ramifications that has for the electrification of older cars. You see, that is like a proper thesis title, that is.
Yeah.
Now, came about, icon is it's there for a reason in a way, because it came about after I was watching a video by Jonathan Ward,
The legend,
showing us around one of his Icon 4x4s.
Whoa.
Very tasty.
Whoa.
And the thing that started off was I was thinking about that, and I am with the Icon 4x4s. I like a bit
Way.
of that. But the thing that sort of tweaks me OCD a bit, maybe I don't know, is I kind of think like, because he does like the old FJ Cruisers, doesn't he? And
TLC, that is.
yeah, TLC, but he'll do icon-y sort of. He does icons as well, doesn't he? With the, because TLC is more like redoing.
Yeah, TLC owns the rights
Yeah.
to those vehicles.
Yes,
now.
that's it. So when they'll do like a 4x4 restoration-y thing, and for emissions purposes and for refinement and all that sort of stuff, it's generally an LS motor, isn't it, that he'll dump in the front
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
thing. And part of me was thinking, well, part of me is I can understand it and I do get it, and I'm not criticising him, but part of me likes the idea of why is it not, a modern Toyota V8, or why
Yeah.
is it not the original straight six made as refined as you
Yeah.
can get that engine. Like, obviously it'll never be super, amazing as a crate LS, but maybe you could get somewhere like that, make it as more reliable as reliable as possible. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, that's about kind of the soul of vehicles, isn't it? But that's coming from the perspective as like us, like gearheads and petrol heads and people who like the mechanics of it as well and worry about that sort of stuff. And I was thinking, well, icons for general public, you know, they're about aesthetics, aren't they? A lot.
Oh yeah.
A big part of that, you know, people, you know, it's just imagine it's a sunny day, you're at a National Trust property and it's quite busy, so there are cars parked up on the lawns. And you walk past them a little Mini, and it might even be a 90s Mini or an 80s Mini, but it's like a bit, oh, a little Mini, isn't that lovely?
Oh,
and it's because it just is. It looks a Mini, therefore it is a Mini, you know. And icons like the E-Type Jaguar maybe, or a Series 1 Land Cruiser that then the lineage goes through all the Defenders really. It's all about aesthetics, isn't it? And so I was thinking, if it's all about aesthetics, then maybe these icons will be quite well served by electrification, because that same person who goes, oh,
hang on,
minute.
when we say icon,
yeah,
we're now moving away from
sorry, I don't mean
Icon,
Jonathan Ward,
the
I mean
company
like
owned by Jonathan
iconic,
Ward.
I mean an iconic vehicle. So these iconic vehicles, sorry, I should have, that was a segue not well explained. So when I talk about icons now, we're not talking about icon with a capital I.
I'm just here to help.
We're not talking about icons with a capital I, we're just talking about iconic vehicles. So that same person that goes, oh, a little Mini, aren't they lovely? In their second breath, they don't say, I'm going to hang around and wait till the person comes back because I really want to hear that A-Series engine. Oh, no, it's just a Mini. So I think there's a possibility that those vehicles will be well served by electric, you know, there'll be electric kits.
It's happening.
Yeah, already, that's it.
Already
Beetles are having kits done, aren't they? Because nobody wants to deal with those shitty air-cooled boxer engines any longer, you know. And that's how a lot of people
funny
feel
how that died out so fast after all that defence for decade after decade.
Now all of a sudden, no thank you, you know. And I can understand that for a large, you know, for general population, you can see where that's coming. So they don't lose anything as an iconic vehicle for the most part, for most people, by being electric.
I think for a lot of people, it's even better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gaining something. Yeah,
like they would
reliability.
Actually rather have the silence.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine walking down your high street?
Yeah.
And there are all these cars driving around, and they're like old Beetles, Minis.
Yeah.
I've just mentioned two you've already mentioned. I can't think of it.
Mark 4, Mark 3 Jag.
You know,
all Jag.
All those cars from the
Morris
past.
Minor.
What were the really nice? They were VWs.
Carmen Gears.
Carmen Gear.
Yeah, all of these vehicles.
Because I reckon you're right on this. I reckon you're so on the money.
Yeah.
And it would just be a serene silence of these beautiful cars from the past restored, but with none of the hassle of their crappy engines.
And I think jumping forward for a moment, I agree in the sort of like, if we ever get to a point where petrol is, you just can't get it anymore, I think there's going to be some people who can't deal with the electrification of their Mini or their Beetle and just think that loses, you know, like people who are maybe more involved in the kind of mechanics of it and love the crappy air-cooled boxer engine in their Beetle. They're going to want to, effectively, that their car ceases to be when they can't fuel it anymore. But I think you're right, there's going to be people who wouldn't have touched a classic that will say, I'll buy that, lad, because I'll whip the engine out of that, put an electric motor in and cruise around in your Beetle if you won't, you know.
Oh, definitely, and it won't be difficult to do because, you know, an engine, there's so much that goes into making an engine.
Yeah.
It's
so complicated.
There's so many different tier suppliers that have to come along and put these bits in and test it and everything else. Electric motors, even with the electronics to run them, not that complicated.
Just so simple,
So theoretically, assuming the material costs aren't that high, it could actually be very cost effective.
Yeah, to do that. Mm. But so we're both agreeing that I think that's going to happen possibly, and we think that's probably, you know, for and for certain vehicles, I'm definitely like, if it were no Minis on the roads or electric Minis on the road, electrify them, because I want to see classic Minis around. They might not be the same, and I get it, you know, I love the little thrum of an A-Series and the little popping of the exhaust.
I like the sound
long
of
centre branch manifolds,
a straight cut box.
Yeah, exactly, the
whine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, with an electric. I mean, that's it. They may, you know, for the Mini, for example, they may just whip the engine out and put a electric motor slap bang on top of the gearbox
That's
as
what I
it used
think
to
will be the first step.
And I think people will just be thrashing around, using the gears if they want, not using them if they don't want. And
how good is that?
Yeah, how good's that?
How good is that? You can just stick it in third, drive around in third all the time, or
get to a B road and give it a bit of a hoonage.
Yeah, go for it. Then you got a ton. You got to have way more power.
Yeah, more range, more power, more torque.
But apart from the fact that Minis batteries always go flat.
Yes, this is true. We might have a problem there. So we're saying, that, for most people, I think it doesn't lose anything, and like you say, it probably gains a lot by being electric. But I think iconic vehicles tend to be a factor that makes an iconic vehicle iconic is time.
Retro.
We are very obsessed with 50s and 60s in general as a classic car and an iconic vehicles. But I think, you can have iconic vehicles pre-war or, mid-war or,
Well, it never changes. That's what's interesting, isn't it? It's like the great sort of art movements of the past.
Yeah.
It never gets old for some reason.
True. Yeah. And because of that, because, like you say, there's that kind of gravitation towards 50s and 60s vehicles anyway, because age seems to make such a difference, what happens to 80s, well, maybe even 70s cars, but 80s cars, 90s cars, 2000s cars that may have become as iconic one day through the passage of time. But, we've said electric's coming. They're not going to get that chance, For example, go on.
I just got a point to raise about that. And I think what's interesting is our focus over time has moved away from cars which are just good at being cars and engine platforms that are good at performance, and that's one of the issues.
This is what I wanted to say, because really, I completely agree. We're definitely on the same page, because 80s and 90s cars and even maybe 70s, they're more, are they too much, are they still, and maybe they will always be, but at the moment, are they still too much of a machine than an icon? Or at least, are they an icon and a machine in partnership? For example, I think the Audi Quattro is quite a good example, because it's iconic. I mean, they used it in the 80s reboot thingy of version of Life on Mars, didn't it? Is their kind of, that is the 80s as far as vehicles are concerned. But are they still too attached to that 5-cylinder scream coming at you through a forest in your rally stages? And is it too much a machine as an icon? And if that's the case, it's not going to get the time for that machine aspect to fade away and just become iconic in a sort of...
Well, it won't, will it? Because why would it?
Well, this is what I mean. Well,
because all it has to offer...
Yeah. Do you not think it's iconic, the style and the shape and of an era? Do you not think it defines an era?
I think it defines an era, but I don't think it defines an era that a lot of people
care about or
think romantically about.
Yeah, true.
Because it's all about portraying a lifestyle, isn't it? I think like your 911 Turbo and cars like that, have a romance about them.
Yeah.
And I say that as a non-Porsche fan.
Yeah.
But I think your blue-collar heroes, they were heroes because of motorsport.
Yeah.
And if you take that and you remove what made it... I mean, okay, you're not taking the four-wheel drive system away, which is really what made the Quattro amazing, but you're taking the 5-cylinder turbo engine away. And you do that, and it's like, what's the point anymore?
Yeah.
Like a Lancia Delta into Raleigh.
Without the...
Beautiful-looking car.
Yeah.
But I think you take the engine out and you lose something.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I've come from it from a slightly different angle, but it's the same. We're coming to the same conclusion, really, that there's going to be in this sort of what you could romantically call the moving motor show of the future. Our roads in the future in 2020. Are we going to have electrified cars from the 50s and 60s, and then maybe a few from the 70s, and then this gaping hole of nothing, and then your 2020 Tesla Model 17, that people are driving around in your, I don't know, Audi E-bollocks or whatever, and
E-bollocks,
E-bollocks, and your Mercedes E-by-gum and whatever, and 80s and 90s. I mean, I was talking to my wife about this last night, and she's got a classic Mini, and I said, you're going to have to make this decision one day with your classic Mini.
Yeah.
Do you want to electrify it, or is the heart and soul going out of it for you when you can't, pilot it with the A series and slapping through the gears and getting that whine, although like we said, you know, maybe some of those aspects will be maintained and it will be a judgment call at that point whether she throws the towel in. And I was saying my Jimny, you know, I love my Jimny, but I love it for all its constituent parts. And if I took the engine out, I was thinking again today, if I took the engine out of it, no.
Same for me with my Jeep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the Jeep, I mean, is a great example. The Jeep is, I mean, for me,
Yeah.
not like you, but the Jeep is the V8 for me. You know, the Americans might be laughing now, oh, you're 4.7, you tiddly little V8. But face it, in this country, that is a behemoth of a V8. And yeah, to take that away from the Jeep takes its soul away, doesn't it? And I think...
Well, my theory on this is that in the 50s and the 60s, and a little bit into the 70s, is engines were this inconvenient necessity of a car.
Yeah, you spent your time feeding them with oil, fixing
and
the
you really
points
did.
And,
you really
every
did.
weekend tinkering.
And everything was done to basically try and hide the fact there was an engine involved. You look at 50s American cars in particular. It
about
was
smoothness and
it
refinement.
were all about
and
silence and smoothness. That's all it were about. And what I find really interesting is whenever I kind of dream about what I would do in a world where I can't get petrol, the landscape of the cars I would go after changes so radically suddenly.
That's true,
And I'm suddenly really attracted to, I don't know, you know, like the Ford Thunderbird and stuff like that.
The 59 Caddy with a massive electric motor.
Big old
just
caddies.
Silently swooshing down there.
Yeah.
You're right, totally.
And I want land yachts. And I want, you know, like big comfy golf cars, basically. That serenely float about and people
while
look
having
at
that
them and
gorgeous
go,
style
wow,
with it,
great styling. And what's funny, you know, a lot of those vehicles won't have been very well preserved. Particularly their 80s, 90s counterparts. Because I can't even think about what those even are.
Thunderbird was still around in the 80s, wasn't it?
Were it?
Yeah.
They brought one back in the 90s, didn't they?
Or is it maybe the 90s? Yeah, because it's quite jelly mouldish, so it will be 90s.
Is that when the motor show Ford got the Thunderbird's brand involved for it because of that?
Oh no, there was one before that. Another one you mean, that was Fab 1 for Thunderbird's movie or whatever it was. But there were one before that.
Were there?
Fox body kind of era.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I don't know. I don't know.
That's how forgettable
because unless
it
it's
were.
a big noisy car that revolves around its engine, I'm kind of like
whatever.
A bit ignorant.
Meh.
You know, like, you know, Citroen have always been doing these kind of floaty land yacht things. Can't really think.
Citroen DS with an electric motor.
That does sound appealing. Isn't it weird how that sounds appealing?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, it does sound appealing.
So I think that's my thoughts anyway. And you know, I was saying like maybe one day, if we'd have been going on as we'd always been going, maybe like for example, Mark 1 MX-5 would have become an iconic vehicle. But at the moment, it's all about the machinery. People buy them for 1,500 quid, thrash the crap out of them, stick a turbo conversion on. It's all about.
I think the MX-5 could move across.
Do you think so?
I think it could. I think it's because.
See, I don't think that's where you and I differ.
It isn't a growly car. It isn't a growly car. The more growly you make an MX-5, like the less it becomes an MX-5.
Yeah. I think the new ones, I agree, like in the future, I think there'll be an electric.
Classic. I think the 90s one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't see that myself.
And I think the classic British sports cars lend itself well.
Yeah.
The MGs and the Triumphs.
Yeah.
I think.
I think an MGB. I mean, an MGB is just a shoe-in for an electric, isn't it? Really, especially the shall we say the clientele that's driving them as well. Just wants that kind of classic tourer experience. But without the oil and the points changing and the faffing about all the time.
I think I really like, and I know some people that curl in their nails just the thought of, you know, what we're saying, but I really get excited by the idea of being able to take a classic car and mount up an electric motor straight to the gearbox. Do away with radiator and all that. You don't have to worry about it. Have a plumb, no coolant into it whatsoever. And then you've got a battery pack which fits exactly where the fuel tank used to go. And then you've got just a lead. And you poke that up where your fuel filler is. And you click it in. And that's where you charge it from. And it hooks up. You've got fly-by-wire for your for your throttle.
Throttle
I
and
don't
all
know how
that
your
sort of-
brakes would work if you've got vacuum.
That's true.
on
But
your
it might be
brakes.
brake by wire by that point.
Yeah, maybe it would.
You know, and
Maybe they'd
just
figure that out.
regen will be, you know, on these lighter
Of
cars.
course,
A
you got your
regen might be
regen.
strong enough just to,
Yeah.
don't even need brakes.
We like
Where
the
we're
idea of
going, we don't need brakes.
We like the idea of regen. don't
Yeah, we
think,
do like
We
it.
think regen might be.
Yeah.
How-
Deceleration is the new
I
acceleration.
know, that's the weird thing, isn't it? Because, like Bobby Llewellyn tested electric car. Do we know which one it was? He's tested a few that have
Hyundai
got...
Ioniq, wasn't it? He was playing
Ioniq.
around with the paddles that
it's
do
got,
the...
yeah, it's got different stage brake regen, so
Yeah.
you can basically, with the paddles,
Turn it up to 11.
and what it is long story short, it is the electric equivalent of the coolest thing on a truck,
Yeah.
which is the jet brake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
if you ever hear a truck going
Yeah.
and making that noise,
yeah.
you're jerking. You're jerking that
brake.
braking.
jerking the brake. And electric regen is kind of like that, especially
Yeah.
with the paddles and stuff, where you can, as you come, if you want to slow down, is you just hit these paddles and it reacts. And we reckon
Yeah.
that in terms of if you were sort of manhandling an electric car down a twisty
Or B-road blasting.
B-road.
Every time you let off and...
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're just hitting these paddles to slow down
Yeah.
and go round and accelerate. I quite like that idea. I
like
think
that idea.
it's got to have a cool name,
Yeah.
and it would be even better if it made like a cool noise.
Yeah. Bit of wine or something
Like your
like that
vacuum
that you
cleaner
could-
does when you turn it off.
Yes, exactly. Bit of wine that you can manufacture in for only when it's on high
Yeah.
deceleration.
And you'd go, oh, he's got
Like
regen.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's got active regen on that.
He's got active
Look at them.
regen.
Look at he's doing, having fun in that.
Yes,
So
exactly.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I mean, I'm of a kind, moving back to the point, I guess I'm of a kind like, I will be sad to see petroleum engines disappear in the sense that I am a tinker and I like them, I like the noises they make and I like the smells. And
Fundamental.
It's just...
Fire,
Yeah,
explosion,
that's it.
raw.
Explosions, it's raw.
It's absolutely fundamental to our being.
But definitely from a, you know, I can say, on the whole, if it's no petrol, no minis, or no petrol, some minis, I'm going to say no petrol, some minis for me, please. I'd like to see electrification. I want to see classic cars on the road, even if that means losing that little aspect out of them, you know.
And that's a good philosophy. I think it's a sound philosophy and one
Yeah.
I can definitely go with.
I know that's a bit glass half empty, but, you know.
think that we will quickly forget
Yeah.
about the petrol engine.
You think so?
We will. We'll look back and we'll be
That's
like,
sad, that is.
you'll go to a drag race or something and
Yeah.
they'll be running, you know, the one on high octane ethanol
Yeah.
and or whatever, and you'll just be like, oh, you know, engines were so amazing. Just the same as you go to a steam engine.
Yeah, true.
Or
watching a horse gallop round a
yeah,
field.
they are magnificent things to behold.
Yeah.
But we will the convenience will fast outweigh.
And ultimately,
what
like we've talked about before, you know, who's going to miss the 1.6 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder that's in a VW Golf at the moment?
Which is
I mean,
silence to the point where it just and
yeah,
where
you might as well.
and it's maintenance free pretty much anyway during your first 3 years of ownership.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like
you are a few
what's
steps
the
away
point?
from electrification. That's it. From
what are you going to lose?
yeah. So there you go.
There we go. Optimistic about the future.
Optimistic.
Bring it on 2017.
Optimistic. Apart from if you're really into 80s cars, you might miss a few in the future.
Oh yeah, all those massive classic cars which are going to die off and disappear. Yeah, that's actually it's a bit bleak, really. Yeah, your Impreza's going to be worth fuck all soon.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
You never know. Someone might electrificate an Impreza. Yeah. Some of them might survive.
Let's hope so.
But no, I don't think many people are going to electrificate. Well, I don't think anyone's going to electrificate a Cosworth, are they? A Sierra Cosworth.
Well, what would be the point? What would be the point?
So if you know, get your fill of Cozzies. Get yourself looking at Gartracks and Cozzies and all the rest while you can. Top tip, listeners. Top tip. And on that note, I'm fucking freezing.
Yeah, I'm a frozen solid.
Frig a pig, it's cold out here now. Let's get in and warm by the fire.
See thee, listeners.
See thee.